Edith the baker, you stand accused of witchcraft. So tell us, what do you do for a living? I bake? Baking, you say? Transforming raw ingredients into something new? Sounds like alchemy. What? No, that's how cooking works? Aha, cooking. She knows the way of the cauldron. Suspicious. Very suspicious. No, I just use flour, water, yeast, and maybe some cinnamon too. Cinnamon? The devil's spice? Witchcraft. Indeed. And did you not also miraculously heal young Timothy's fever last week? I gave him soup. Sounds like a confession to me. What do you think of when I say witch trials? Maybe pointy fancy hats? Cute toads? This thing? Well, yes. This brings up a few burning questions, if you know what I mean. Please don't. Alright, just this one time. This is my video now. There are countless of videos about the witch trials in Europe and North America, but almost none about the very unique trials that happened in Iceland. There were around 120 witch trials in Iceland between the late 16th and the early 18th century, and I've picked out one that makes a very cool story, and I couldn't find a single video about it on YouTube. So here we are. But before that, great thanks to my good friend from Iceland. I will never stop to show her off, because I'm so very proud that I know her. She helped me out a lot with this video, especially with the pronunciation of everything. Like,
Say it.
Hallgrímskirkja. Well, yeah. I'm very sorry for butchering my way through your beautiful language. But this also means we're all going to learn a bit of Icelandic along the way in this video. How cool is that? The witch trials in Iceland were unique for several reasons. While everywhere else in the world, mostly women were accused of witchcraft and executed for it, in Iceland, it was mostly men. There's only a single woman in Iceland who is confirmed to have been executed for witchcraft. So, why this difference? In 1000 AD, the yearly Alþing took place at Þingvellir. It was basically a yearly meeting of leaders from all over Iceland who decided on new laws and made decisions in legal disputes and lawsuits. There it was decided to adopt Christianity as the main religion in Iceland. However, the worship of the old gods was not forbidden. This is why many pagan traditions were preserved even after Christianity came to Iceland. For example, the practice of magic. The magic in Iceland was traditionally practiced by man and woman. A key difference is that for the Icelanders, this magic had no connection to the devil like it is often portrayed in Christianity. It was rather associated with gods like these, which are pronounced Freyja, Thor, and Odin. There were different types of magic, the main ones being galdr and seifur. The so-called galdrabók, an Icelandic grimoire from the 17th century, shows 47 spells and stave runes with different purposes, the most famous of which is probably the Helm of Or, or the Ægishjálmur. It was supposed to induce fear and protect the warrior wearing it. But there were all kinds of spells for making people fall in love, summoning fish into the harbor, speaking with the dead, unalive the livestock of a personal enemy, or make a woman fart in church, or make people in general fart uncontrollably. Yeah. Lots of farting stuff, which is funny for us now, but back then, it was probably funny as well. So here's another key difference. While in Europe and North America, people were accused of witchcraft for whatever really, in Iceland, many of the accused were actually known for practicing magic. For example, using magic runes or cursing people for money. Sometimes, however, it was enough to find an oddly shaped pebble in someone's home to accuse them of witchcraft. So let's talk about one of these terrible and forgotten trials that happened decades before the infamous witch trials of Salem. Our story happens in the West Fjords of Iceland. Not here, but here. At the very edge of the world where the sun never rises in winter and the land is plunged into utter darkness during these months, there is a city called Ísafjörður, which simply means ice fjord. And in 1644, the small settlement welcomed a new Christian priest, a man called Jón Magnússon. He was a very faithful man. His prayers were emotional and often accompanied by tears. He was a little fanatic, and he would bring about the witch trial of kbal that is very well documented in the Píslar saga, or the saga of my suffering, that was written and published by the priest himself. It all began on a grim, dark evening in October 1655. A girl spotted a ghost dog that entered the priest's house. It trotted back out again and made its way in the direction of kbal, a small settlement near Ísafjörður. To the priest, this was no coincidence, for in kbal there lived two men, father and son, both named Jón Jónsson. I know that one is pretty confusing. There are already 3 different Jóns in the story. Jón is still one of the most common names in Iceland today, so just bear with me. Both father and son weren't as devout Christians as the priest would have liked them to be. And after a few conflicts, the priest now suspected that the two had made a pact with the devil to take revenge on him. Because, sure, like, that's the most logical thing to suspect, but okay. About a week later, the priest was wakened at night by a foul presence. He felt something gnawing at his feet the whole night. These events intensified over the next few days. He felt an invisible cat touch his legs. While he was praying, he felt a large, demonic dog jump at him. He developed all kinds of symptoms: headaches, weakness, fever. You know, things that could totally be explained by the fact that it was the 1600s and healthcare was basically rub some moss on it and pray. But no, instead of blaming the cold, harsh Icelandic winter climate or a seasonal depression because there was no sun for months, the priest was certain he had been cursed by the two men at kbal. So this guy basically said, "I'm feeling kinda sick. Must be dark magic. Better get my neighbors executed." Ah yes. A true man of God. At a gathering in church, he told everyone about his sufferings, but didn't mention any names. But when he saw the expression on the two Jónssons' faces, probably a wicked smile or something, who knows, that was all the proof he needed. In the next few weeks, 2 ghosts were spotted in the priest's house that looked like the father and son. And then everyone in the priest's household began to notice demonic activity. They all reported itching, a sore throat, a numbness of the body and mind, or a burning sensation in the chest. So fearing for his and his family's life, the priest went to see the local sheriff and he demanded that the Jón Jónssons be arrested immediately for witchcraft. But the sheriff did nothing really, so the suffering of the priest continued. Then, during a sermon, he lost his wits in front of the whole congregation, as he claimed due to a new spell. So he went off to the sheriff again, and this time he agreed to investigate. In the resulting trial, the Jónssons could find no witnesses to speak for them, and although everyone knew that the elder Jónsson had been practicing magic for decades, once again, nothing really happened. The priest was furious when no decision was made. So after his suffering continued for a while and one night an angel appeared to him, the priest went to a magistrate that a few years earlier had had a few men burned at the stake because they had allegedly bewitched women in church. And finally, someone did something about the evil that tormented the priest. A new trial was started. Many people testified that they knew that both Jónssons had been practicing magic for a long time. Now that their guilt was established, both were sentenced to death. Although neither of the Jónssons admitted to having done anything against the priest. But anyway, father and son were burned at the stake at the site of present-day Ísafjörður airport. And the priest was like, "Oh, glad that's over. Oh wait, I still feel kinda bad. Must be even more witches." Yep, his symptoms didn't really get any better, who would have thought? But as he thought about it, he remembered that the elder Jónsson's daughter had recently walked past his house. She had been walking alongside a cow that had belonged to her father, and she had stroked the cow in a way that struck the priest as very sinister. Okay, whatever. So the priest tried to get her executed as well, but he failed because even other priests were of the opinion that his accusations were nonsense. The girl survived and even started a countersuit against the priest, but unfortunately for her, the case was never really resolved. She lived quite a long life and finally passed away at the rather advanced age of 65. And honestly, getting so old smells like witchcraft to me. Well, if you read the priest's accounts today, you notice how he basically just complains for chapters about how everyone was out to get him. He was a very self-righteous man. Today, there are a few theories as to what illnesses or mental disorders could have led to his symptoms and demon sightings. If you ever come to Iceland, there is a museum of sorcery and witchcraft in the small town of Hólmavík in the Westfjords. The town has about 400 inhabitants, but if you call it a small village, the people there will correct you, which honestly is adorable. And yes, they have an exhibit on actual Icelandic grimoires, including spells for summoning fish, making people fart uncontrollably, and even a pair of pants made of human skin. Yeah, that's a whole different story. But anyway, if you want to see some of the most hilarious animals from medieval art, then watch this other video of mine. Or if you want to learn more random things about Iceland, then watch my worst foods in history video. There's a section on something Icelandic in there. Thanks for watching as always. Hit like if you like, hit that bell or go to hell, and bye.